and of the world beyond the circle of the sun. When he had finished all the studies of the figure course, he went into the chamber of the dead, that he might learn the ancient methods of preserving from decay the bodies of the dead. And here he wrought. And carriers brought the body of a widow's son to be embalmed. The weeping mother followed close. Her grief was great. And Yehoshua said, Good woman, dry your tears. You follow but an empty house. Your son is not in it. Your son is in it not. You weep because your son is dead. Death is not a cruel word. Your son can never die. He had a task assigned to do in garb of flesh. He came, he did his work, and then he laid the flesh aside. He did not need it more. Beyond the human sight, he has another work to do. And he will do it well, and then pass to another task. And by, he will attain the ground of perfect life. And what your son has done, and what he yet must do, we all must do. Now, if you harbor grief and give your sorrows vent, they will grow greater every day. They will absorb your very life until, at last, you will be naught but grief, wet down with bitter tears. Instead of helping him, you grieve your son by your deep grief. He seeks your solace now as he has ever done. It's glad when you are glad. It's saddened when you grieve. Go bury deep your woes and smile at grief, and lose yourself in helping others dry their tears. With duty done comes happiness and joy. The gladness cheers the hearts of those who have passed on. The weeping woman turned and went her way to find happiness and helpfulness, to bury deep her sorrows in a ministry of joy. Then other carriers came and brought the body of a mother to the chamber of the dead, and just one mourner followed, she, a girl of tender years. And as the cordage neared the door, the child observed a wounded bird in sore distress. A cruel hunter's dart had pierced its breast, and she left following the dead, and went to help the living bird. With tenderness and love, she folded her to her breast the wounded bird, then hurried to her place. And Yehoshua said to her, Why did you leave your dead to save a wounded bird? The maiden said, This lifeless body needs no help from me. My mother taught me this. My mother taught that grief and selfish love and hopes and fears are but reflexes from the lower self. That what we sense is but small waves upon the rolling billows of a life. These all will pass away. They are unreal. Tears flow from hearts of flesh. The spirit never weaks, and I am longing for the day when I can walk in the light, where tears are wiped away. My mother taught that all emotions are sprays that rise from human love and hope and fears, that perfect bliss cannot be ours till we have conquered these. And in the presence of that child, did Yehoshua bow his head in reverence and said, For days and months and years, I have sought to learn this highest truth that man can learn on earth. And here a child, fresh brought to earth, has told it all in one short breath. No wonder David said, O Allah, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength. And then he laid his hand upon the maiden's head and said, I am sure the blessings of my Father Allah will rest upon you, child, forever. Islam, Islam, Islam. Today is December 24th, 2022, and welcome again to another Moorish Perspective class sponsored by our Moorish American government. Our host instructor is our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shadua Minty and Mohemed Shepsuel, with our subject coming from our chapter of the week out of Ayat 1 in our old Holy Quran and also Ayat 2 in our new Holy Quran, which reads, he learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land, the mysteries of the life and death, and of the world beyond the circle of the sun. And our topic, the mystic lore, the mysteries of life and death, and the world beyond the circle of the sun. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Chief for opening up the way according to law, and also gratitude to our National Grand Secretary of the state of Indiana, Divine Minister Dr. Sa Natinu Heteru L, for taking registration and also reading the chapter of the week. Moorish Ken, please check your emails for the invitation to our live stream on our National Assistant Grand Chief YouTube platform. We are live as we speak. And at this time, we will call to the floor our host instructor, Dr. Shadow Aminti and Mohemed Shepsuel. Islam, Grandman.
In Islam. Can you hear me, sister?
Unmuted.
Okay, there we go. Islam. Can you hear me, goddess and queen?
Islam, clear as a bell.
Gratitude. Islam, Moorish America. Want to rise again upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. We give honors to all of our Moorish kin on the manifest tonight, and we welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives. As I am your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Al-Mohadi Shabazz El, and my ancient comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedwa Minty Al-Mohemed Shepsuel. And it's always a grand drawing to be in the company of our Moorish kin. We got a few technical difficulties going on here, Moors. This computer moving sluggish as ever again. And I'm talking about sluggish as ever. So what I'm trying to do right now as we speak, as I've been trying to do as well from the time we've been trying to get in here, is copy this link, so I can get it to the Moorish kin and just put it in the previous email, because it's moving so sluggish I can't type nothing, and this is crazy because it wasn't doing this earlier, and it only seemed to do this when I open up this particular call. Even I'm getting a lot of lagging and a lot of the broadcasting as well, where I can't really do a lot of sharing so much. And I have removed a lot of things off of here. I don't know, I'm probably going to end up having to run a virus program on here to see if it's been, because usually when computers start moving like this, it's something trying to infiltrate it or done got into it, so to speak. But nevertheless, we still live. And as we are speaking and giving our demonstration, like I say, I'm just trying to copy the link, because once I can copy the link, the Moorish kin can get on here and all is well. It don't make no sense. Well, it all makes sense, but like I said, we ain't have these problems until we get on this special demonstration. So nevertheless, we're gonna go forward and move forward with our class as we normally would. It's a grand drawing that we had to bring forward to our family. Speaking in reference to dealing with this special chapter. You know, it's a grand drawing. Our holy prophet is still teaching us from the plane of soul, or shall we say the world beyond the circle of the sun. Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that he was going to take them up, his good Moors now, above the sun, moon, and stars and around the almighty throne of Allah. Now there's a lot of wisdom in this statement as it refers to activities that would take place above, you know, uh, within the celestial realm as it relates to cosmology, and how it has an influence over our actions on the plane of things made manifest. And also, as it relates to dealing with us being on the plane of things made manifest here in our Moorish American government. So it's a grand joy just to be home in this new era in time. And so anytime we speak, we always try to give our family a drawing from the level of what we call the divine and the national aspect of the movement. Start from a degree of being on high, because we come from on high. We come from celestial origins. We come from divine origins. This is dealing with our divinity, dealing with our divine creed, and then as we manifest as a nation, everything that we are made of, the ingredients of that divinity, we hold fast to, even being on the plane of things made manifest, being reminded, of exactly who we are, where we come from, the work that we have been called to do, etc. So again, it's an honor just to be here in this new era in time, and be on the manifest to contribute to the upliftment of fallen humanity. What more can we ask for? You see, this is a powerful demonstration here. So we also want to welcome our family that's viewing us via live, be it through YouTube or Facebook, whichever apparatus you can see us on. Nevertheless, this is a grand measure to bring forth to our people and share with the world, because the world must know that we as Moorish American Muslims worship under our own divine and fig tree, so to speak. And we have our own nation. We have our own ensign, so to speak. And all of these things have been inspired and have derived from the ancestors. And we are today what our forefathers were yesterday, without doubt or contradiction. So we know who we are. We're not guessing, at who we are as being Moorish American Muslims. We being who we are, right here in this Moorish American government. And so we want to encourage our family to let, our kin know that we out here demonstrating, and we ask that our family become a part and parcel of the work of uplifting fallen humanity. Not just those who are within the sound of my voice on the conference call that we have, but even through the highways and byways, wherever you may be. This is the only way that we can become free as a nation of people. Outside of this, well, that just ain't living, and it's nothing more than death being demonstrated in that particular arena. So we are here to breathe life, new life into our people. Time is long and gone. In the by and by, when it comes to dealing with us just merely living to die, suffering, striving to live, and so forth and so on. We are here because it is all a part of our destiny. It's a part of our divine decree. It's a part of our divine nature to be here in this new era and time. It's not by chance. It did just so happen that we come here. There are no strange happenings. We all on the manifest because we have been ordained, or shall I say preordained, by creative fate to be here. So whatever talents that we have, whatever gifts of the understanding that we have, all of these things have been given to us as tools that we may be able to utilize to reach our people, to uplift and teach our people Islam. So without further ado and delay, like I said, it's going to be a grand drawing, Morris Ken. And we encourage all our family, to aid and assist us in this magnanimous work of uplifting our people. We know that we have been given the teaching of our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali and his journey, his hallowed journey is what we call it, of leaving here. He come out of the same state that we come out of, Negroism. You see, the same state that we are found in or were found in this new era time, our holy prophet had been found in. And once he came out of that state and he received these teachings, he brought these lessons back to his people to teach them to be themselves. So when we talk about the mystic lore of Egypt land, that's a whole nother measure. Lore is often tradition that is passed down from generation to generation. And lore actually has to do with, what some people like to call legends. Some people call folklore, hence the term lore in the root of folklore. Some people like to say mythos. Some people think that's negative, but nothing negative about that, because we know even in mythos is based upon legend, of something that is true. In fact, to be legendary is to be great. It means that you left a mark somewhere along the way. Just as our ancestors has left a grand mark, left many landmarks, so to speak, in their particular work that they had demonstrated before us, just as it is our duty in this new era in time to do the same. We have landmarks to leave. We have things that we must do for the young and not yet born. We have a particular measure and talents that we have been given, tailor-made solely for our people. And that doesn't mean because they are tailor-made for our people that we're not here to uplift fallen humanity as a whole. But we have to clean our house up, before we can go throughout the earth land, and ones will bear witness to what it is that we have, that is about the upliftment of fallen humanity. We already know we living in an age where people still doubt. And we know that doubt must see their God. So when we look at what our ancestors had brought on the manifest in the past, during the times of antiquity, in that particular era in time, there were many who were filled with doubt. And you think about it, the Creator, hadn't really begun to unfold his greatness throughout cycle ages and times, when we go back as far as we can in the antiquity, because there was much more to unfold into. So we can kind of see how it would be easy for a people to be filled with, faithlessness, ignorance, that especial doubt that must often see their God. But then when clear signs come on to manifest, when clarity is brought forth, then one should clean themselves up when it comes to consciousness and get their acts together and basically be what it is that they would like to see, especially when you see the workings of the Heka and the power, of the Creator, as He has allowed many of those, via God, man, God, women, as far as dealing with the goddesses that are recorded in our history along with the God men. He has allowed many examples, which therefore gives many opportunities of a people to have benefit of the higher self. You see, everybody can get a grand degree in relation to dealing with the higher self. If you got that much on the manifest that has to do with one being in a state of aid, being in a state of assisting and so forth and so on. You see, that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. So when we talk about the mystic lore of ancient Kemet, our ancestors often dealt with the practicality and the reality of identifying themselves within creation. They understood the cosmology by looking into themselves. They understood life by looking into themselves. They understood the creator of the cosmology in the cosmos by looking within themselves. So everything that they studied to become masters of, it all became so because they were looking within themselves. This is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, to study themselves. You see, this is why our ancestors were able to become masterminds. You see, by the study of the self. And we're not talking about studying the self, to the extent to where we get caught up in the manifest and the material of the self, but being able to look at ourselves in this new era in time and find our place in history. We are stepping into this present cycle of unfoldment as we have stepped out of the past that has to do with the historical workings of those who came before us. So we have divine ties when it comes to our ancestors. You see, we have ties of divinity that link us to the Creator and our higher self. How is it then that most people that are on the plane of things made manifest, having that tie, being linked with the Creator, the great God, how is it even able to forget that which sustains you, the life that is within you? That don't make sense, do it? That which gives life to you is within you, yet we forget it. In fact, they speak of that in the realms of Orthodox Islam. They say, well, Adam fell because he forgot. You see, he forgot who made him, right? He forgot that he had some God in him, right? So when we go back to ancient Kemet, this is what we were being taught. The teachings of the manifestation of God consciousness in man. And we don't say man from a chauvinistic standpoint, because this same God consciousness manifests as well within the God women, or what we call goddesses and queens as well. So when we talk about, All-Sar and All-Set, and Heru, we understand that this really represents, the ancient Kemetic constellation, so to speak, of cosmology, whereas it relates to the God man, being an expression of the solar aspect of creation, and then the God woman an expression of the lunar, and the seed an expression of the stellar, as the light has been cast from the mother and the father to the seed. You see, and then there would be no death for one, because through this special family, through this special family, they would pass on everything it is of their divinity to the next generation. So this is why it is often said, that Osar was an immortal. You become an immortal through the lineage that comes behind you, so to speak. That's what makes you immortal. That's what makes Prophet Noble Drew Ali immortal. That's what makes him immortal, because he's still working from the plane of soul. Just as Osar in ancient Kemet was the first to be resurrected, from the dead. And resurrection from amongst the dead really has to do with being elevated beyond those who are not conscious of their divinity. So you become the Godhead or the God mind that is on the manifest. And this is what Osar became. So Osar is the first in recorded history to be known as one that was Lord of the living and Lord of the dead. He was resurrected from the dead even before they talk about this demonstration in the Piscean records of Christianity. But every doctrine that you read and study about, they speak on this special type of event. Even though they may call it by different terminology or different names. Our prophet brought us teachings in the Circle 7, which tells us that the resurrection is a fact. But this can only be when one has linked themselves up, with their divine nature. You see? This is the divinity of it all, family. And so when we understand that, then we say, just as Osar was the first to be raised from amongst the dead in ancient Kemet, then Osar, having that same vibration in this modern era and time, was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You see, he was raised first and foremost from this state of being NBC, Negro, black, color, or what we call a shallow grave of assumable jurisdiction. And then he became that God man, holding that same saving power, that same station, in longevity, just as the God man also did in the past. And that's why we speak of these great ones right now in this new era in time. In fact, to the extent of knowing that we are the return of the ancient ones. You see, we are the return of the ancient ones, family. So, just as we gave you the grand drawing and reflection of dealing with the family of Osar, Prophet Noble Drew Ali also had a family, and that's us. We are those who came through his lineage. So we are we can say whole and intact when we are attached, through his lineage, being Moorish American Muslims. So when you think about it, this is how we say Allah Ali and we, Allah Ali and you, Allah Ali and me, because this is passed down in succession throughout the climes and the times of each generation that will come. And they will pick up the banner. They will pick up where we left off. They will complete the work that we have not yet been able to complete. And that's the whole drawing in relation to dealing with what it means to live forever. This is how the everlasting gospel becomes everlasting, because each generation is able to take a particular portion of the truth and uplift their particular generation and pass it on to the next. This is the mindset that we have to have when it comes to nation building. And all this goes back to the ancient lore of ancient Kemet. There's a lot of debating going on now and discussion about whether or not, the personages of different religious texts, religious books, or even in ancient Kemet, whether they were real or not. You see, well, you can't have real principles if they didn't come from real people. You see? And if these principles have been carbon dated, or however you want to date it, back to a certain time period that is in existence long before this modern time, then you couldn't have real principles unless the real principles were created by real people. Now, when it comes to dealing with our people that have come into so much disbelief, so much doubt, so much conflict with accepting what it is that has been brought to us, it has to do with the present condition and one having been conditioned to think within themselves because somebody else told you, you ain't nothing, you ain't gonna never be nothing, you a Negro, you a black man, you a colored man, you somebody else's property. They've been hearing that so much to where they feel it is utterly impossible. It's impossible now for them to come through a divine line. And then you have some of them now saying, well, if we come from a lineage it's so divine of, we are people of God, then why is it that he has allowed us to suffer, the things that we have currently suffered? I mean, you didn't get the memo. A lot of it has to do with the fact because, like Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, we are hard-headed, mean, stiff-necked set of people who have never done anything except at the point of that scimitar. That's why. You see? It even tell you in the Piscean records, if you humble yourself, those of his people that are called by his name, and you repent from your sinful ways, he told you right there, then you can become a part of his royal priesthood. And we ain't talking about being no preacher, just talking from a pulpit, from a European church. You see, we ain't talking about a priest, in somebody's Johnny come lately social club, secret society, or whatever you think you part and partial of. We don't say that right there to try to be mean and unjust. We just telling you what it is. So, the whole drawing has to do with, we as a people have already made it to the promised land. And we standing here right on it and don't even know it because we believe what somebody else told us. They told us we was Negroes, black people, and colored people, and slaves. So we don't honor the mystic lore, of our ancestors, of ancient Kemet. This is impossible, some of us think, to be divine. So it's a lot of work to be done. But yeah, when you go into this particular drawing, in ancient Kemet, the teaching was that when one passed form, family, they would basically pass form physically, but their works and everything it is they done, allowed them life everlasting, because through the wisdom of the works that they brought forth, others were able to mount up, so to speak. It became a ladder by which ones were able to climb up into their divinity. In fact, you couldn't even be a ruler in ancient Kemet if you hadn't sat at the feet of a hierophant. If you had been taught, directly and become a pupil, of a Hierophant, you couldn't be one who become a part of the administration of ancient Kemet. So one had to have their heart and mind cleansed with the teachings, the Sebyt teachings, the wisdom teachings of Ma'at, truth and right. That's what it represents at the end of the day. In a nutshell, straightforward and to the point, that's exactly what it represents, truth and right, family. So we haven't even had any in this new era in time to even really go into speaking on the Sebyt teachings, the teachings of those that were passed down from Tehuti. Another personage whom is often accredited for writing and all of the original doctrine and the first teachings dealing with the law of not only ancient Kemet or Egypt, but even Atlantis. And we have found recently, unbeknownst to many, there are those who still think these are stories or fairy tales, so to speak, or fables. They think these things have to do with what we call just some science fiction, so to speak. But upon investigation, we know better. So when you know better, you do better. See, family, you can't love self if you don't know self. And how can you know self unless you have a teacher? Kemet couldn't have become Kemet unless a teacher had come forth to teach those who would be in the state of becoming rulers how to be rulers. And this is why you hear us say it takes an adept to teach an adept how to be an adept. It takes a Moorish American Muslim to teach a Moorish American Muslim how to be a Moorish American Muslim. You see? So from this standpoint, drawing from the wisdom of all of our ancestors, because we draw from all books of truth, there are no limitations as to where we will go to seek knowledge. And we shall seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Whether we have to seek it from the heavens or right here, if we have to dig into the earth, to find it, we basically are obligated to seek knowledge. It's actually a sin to be ignorant. This ain't something I'm making up now. When you get into the teachings of Islamism, and the laws thereof, it's actually a sin, family, to be ignorant. It's a sin to not know. That's why it was said that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You see? And I always like to emphasize it ain't because the knowledge wasn't there. You see? It's because we didn't want to comprehend the truth anyway. Because it's really the truth that we are lacking. So since you have rejected knowledge, then I will reject you and your seed after you. Now, I don't know about nobody else, but to hear a divine decree come down like that right there, we know the great God Allah don't make threats. And if he make a statement and has intent to demonstrate a thing, he ain't just talking out the side of his neck. You see? And we can bear witness to this right now as it relates to us as a people. Haven't it not been numerous situations that have taken place in this new era in time, that have our people thinking so much that they feel like the Creator ain't even with them? And a lot of this has to do with disobedience. It has to do with that sinful nature, sinful ways, so to speak. You see? But who can one blame except oneself? Who can one blame, family, except oneself? when it comes to this special mention. If we have the ability and the strength and the endurance in us to demonstrate self-determination, just like any other people, and we choose not to demonstrate that, then whose fault is that? We have to look at the self, right? Now, we often honor our ancestors in ancient Kemet. We honor, everything it is that they have demonstrated. We often talk about their greatness. We can see everything that they have done. And these things are considered to the modern scientists as primitive. So how is it that we have not been able to demonstrate the same saving power that was demonstrated during that ancient time or the times of antiquity? How is it that we are not able to demonstrate what has been recorded in the lore of Egypt land? Since we know so much, right? Or since we have, so much power, at least illusionary power, so to speak, right? Why is it that we are still behind and we can't even comprehend what true freedom is? And I say we because you already know the whole is not free until everybody is. You see? So why is it so hard for our people to be able to embrace, the reality of even dealing with self-determination? We love Kemet, but Kemet became a nation because they were the first to set the tone or the template, so to speak, when it comes to nation building. The only time that we feel like we want to demonstrate self-determination is when it comes to climbing over each other. Have you ever noticed that? When it comes to trying to outdo each other as a people, competition, that's the only time our people act like they got some self-determination in them. Outside of that, ones is basically dead in the head, right? So, man, it's just all I can say. It's a powerful demonstration to be on the manifest in this era and time and have the truth as we do, family. No other nation had these lessons that we have. So what are we talking about when we speak again of the mystic law? We're talking about the teachings of self-mastery. That's what we're talking about. If we look to the past and honor the past, having the same knowledge, but yet not going into the same area of error, repeating those things that took place in the past, this is when we will become successful as a people. And then the resurrection becomes a fact. This is where we go into the aspects, of the mystery of the world beyond the circle of the sun. But we have to be raised as a people, whole and intact. What we call that here in this era and time is the exhuming of a nation. When you deal with the seventh adept degree, this is really enthronement. Only the great God Allah can give one this special knowledge on how to preserve this present body of Moorish American Muslims from decay, decadence, so to speak, right? That's the knowledge that we are being given here. To preserve and having that special knowledge is so that we, as we say, are able to be upon the earth as long as the earth is on the manifest. And when I say that, I'm not talking about in this physical body, but through generation that comes after generation. Honor your mother and your father, that your days may be long upon the earth land in which the Lord your God has given you. But you can't rule it with a carnal mindset. You have to have a state of divinity in thought to be an executive ruler, in order to be Lord of the plane of soul, Lord of the plane of things made manifest. I didn't say this. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. I'm just trying to make the lesson applicable to the self. You see? So all of us should be looking for ourselves in the records. This is what life is spent to build, a temple of perfected man. And the records exist within us because we know that we have a registry of the remembrance of the Creator within us. This transcends all time that has to do with past, present, and future. You see? It all has to do with the being. So we are living history as we speak. As we live it, it's being written. Our history becomes records for those who are coming behind us. And what would they be looking at? You think they're going to be looking at the span of the time? Or do you think they're going to be looking at the events that took place during this special era in time? Let that marinate a bit. You see? So the question is, well, who are we doing the work for? Is it for the present self or the carnal self? Or is it for the young and not yet born? You see? Are we holding the post? Or are we prepping those who are coming behind us to be able to excel and again claim the post? So the grand drawing is to go beyond the world of the circle of the sun really has to do with being in a high state of thinking. Anybody that knows anything about dealing with the system of what we call the ganglionic systems or centers of the body, or what we call the chakras. You see, anybody that knows of these special things, knows that there are actual expressions, physiological expressions of the sun and the moon and stars that are depicted in most of these centers. So if the prophet was telling you he would take you up above the sun and the moon, in the chakra chart, you will find the sun and the moon. In fact, this is actually mostly seen in ancient Kemet and around the world, actually, in artifacts. You'd often see the crescent cradling the sun. That's the symbol that's normally in relation to dealing with the heart chakra. So if you are being taken up beyond that special measure, well, you can't go no higher than the seventh sphere. This is where the throne of the great God Allah is, above the neck. You see? This is what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was able to do in his journey of ascension, and he would be able to lift us up. He had the ability to lift us up as well. This is why he told our Moorish kin that. And he's doing it right now. All the lessons that we have, are they not lifting us up? It's not by chance. I say it all the time that he was given that attribute, Ali. It means the most high, the most exalted amongst us. You see? That's what we talking about. The chemistry, the ministry, and the mystery. You see? So once we get into this special state of consciousness, we say, well, what does this have to do with, nation building? You have to be in the right state of mind to build a nation. So it's necessary to study the Sebyt teachings, the wisdom teachings of your ancestors. Because if we had it down pat, so to speak, we had the teachings from the onset, then surely we would be a free people by now, right? If we already had it before, we had come into a state of consciousness. You see, and if we already had it, then why haven't we built anything with it? Prophet Noble Drew Ali is still working from the plane of the soul. And there's a lot more that we don't know, that will be utilized to build this nation. Again, we just have to find our particular place in our lore, in the lore of Moorish land, so to speak. I was up till 7:30 this morning, working on our language, trying to get it in digital font, and praise be to Allah, I was able to complete, the process. Still got a few little things we want to do, and mashallah, our Moorish kin, the scribes of the nation, will be able to teach these things to our people. You see, this is what we've been striving to demonstrate. We don't do something just by chance. We do something to manifest something. And it all has to do with what we call contributions and what it is that we have to offer to our people. You see, we've talked recently about something that has been hidden, and they're trying to strike it from the record. They have tried to strike it from the record, even when it comes to archaeology. How many of our people know that archaeology really has to do with, the logic, of science, that has to do with the plane of things made manifest, basically. But nevertheless, dealing with this is special science, anthropology and all of that. They don't want to tell you that before they was calling man, for example, all these other terms you hear now, your Homo erectus, they were actually calling them, names that rooted itself into the Mauryan and Atlantean culture. The Mauritanikus Anthropicus. That's the terminology they were using before they started using this other terminology. They say, wait a minute, we can't put that in there. Because that's going to basically allow the people that are indigenous to the land to know that they've been here longer than anyone else if we start calling these fossils that we found Mauritanikus Anthropicus, actually Atlanthropus, Atlanthropus. And this actually has to do with Mari and Atlas, so to speak. Mount Atlas, which is the same region that became known as Atlantis, and all of that in this special region, the sacred mount of the West. So we come from a long line of divinity. No matter how much you look at it, we tracing it back through the language, we tracing it back through, the culture, the history, and all of this stuff coming up, man. Everybody can't be lying. It's called consensus of information. If you got 50 people saying it all around the world before the internet, before Facebook, before YouTube, 1,000 years before it, and they saying the same thing, and it take a minute for information to travel. We got all this information right here in front of us now, and people still sleep. So do you think that everybody was woke way back then during that special time? Come on now. Talk to me. No. It was some people that was asleep. You see? So how is it then the same truth has traveled around the earth? That made me think about, the earth itself being 24,896,000 miles, so to speak, in its circumference, so to speak, right? And you think about the books that Tehuti had, also known as Enoch, and a lot of the other records. In the Islamic history, they say he was given 104 books. And you add that 104 books to the 24,896, that's 25,000 even. So if the truth travels around the planet in that special time frame, in a cycle, so to speak, then this causes a paradigm shift. So if everybody know that the Moors was there, and by the time we come into the last cycles of time, the Moors come on the manifest, this same name being in existence all the way back in times of antiquity that we done proven. In fact, you can't find, a consonantal root in the world more prevalent than M and R. We demonstrated that recently on numerous occasions when we were talking to different people. So we already know we got the DNA of the gods in us. Some people like to call them the Elohim. Some people like to call them the Anunnaki. Some people like to call them the Neteru. You see, some people like to call them, the Devas. Whatever terminology one is using. But nevertheless, this has all been recorded throughout the climes in the time as it relates to the historicity of humanity. So everybody telling the same story, they're just telling it in different languages and dialects. All of them have talked about this world beyond the circle of the sun. You see? And all of it has to do with a state and a condition after one obtains a denial of themselves, so to speak. In ancient Kemet, we call it Seket Allah or Seket Aru. You see, they call it nirvana in a lot of the teachings of the Buddhic texts and Hindu texts. You see, and if you're dealing with Zionism, they combine in a lot of the information and so forth and so on. You see, and we can go into many different doctrines and texts, where they speak of Jannah, in the teachings of the Quran. You see, all these different celestial states or planes of existence that has to do with being elevated. In the Piscean records, Yehoshua said the kingdom of heaven is but a state of mind. So again, all this has to do with that which is above the neck. So this is your world above the, beyond the circle of the sun. This is your realm of reality. And so this is why our chairman has told us, keep it above the neck, Moors. Stay in your world of consciousness. This is where we can draw saving power from. We also call it the ethers of our native plane, or beyond the blue ethers. You see? Everything it is that a student craves and wish for is there within the halls of learning. When it has to do with the temple of perfection and perfected man, the temple of self-mastery. So these are the true temples that have to do with different degrees of unfoldment when we talk about the temple of Amun Ra. It ain't strange when we say Bemaduti El Hedget Shepsis Reab to Ali. Amen. Amun Ra. You see? So when we talk about all of this is not just something to sound slick or sound good. This is something that actually exists. And if we are able to do the work and truly go within, then we become master thinkers. We can tap into the same records of the book of the registry that we mentioned in that temple, and we can bring forth messages of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, having a pure heart and a pure mind. And the only way that you can have that type of truth in you if you have a pure heart and a pure mind. A dirty mind can't receive anything of that teaching, nor can it disseminate anything of that teaching. You see, it has to have a crutch to stand upon. You see, a lot of times, for example, you'll see me demonstrating out of many different drawings and showing our people slides and, showing certain things to them, because we understand some of our people learn by sight. But we really don't need the books to instruct. We can instruct just by word of mouth, so to speak. But we in the show me age, dealing with people that's mostly in a show me state of mind. So we try to add on to what it is, that will aid and assist our family to better grasp what it is that we trying to bring to the plane of things made manifest. So it ain't just something that's on us, it's something that's in us. See, that's the key. See, you can't wear the truth. The truth is something that you have to take in. And that's why I say it ain't something that's on us, it's something that's in us. It's just got to be in you to be what's in you. And we should know that God is in us. This ain't no preaching no sermon and trying to take you, behind the pulpit, slam dunk your head, in some holy water. That ain't what we talking about. We are solely inspiring the spirit of what we call God's self in our people. This is what caused greatness to manifest. When you see somebody that reached their best potential or the greatest expression of themselves on any plane, that ain't nothing but the God expressing itself through one. That's the God man, or did I say God mind, because man means thinker. You see, that's all it is. And that's what we're trying to get to. That's what these lessons are dedicated to. That's what they are for us to tune in to our divinity. Prophet Noble Drew Ali already said it. He said that he mended broken wires and connected them to the higher power, along with taking you up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah. And that throne has 3 degrees of unfoldment in relation to dealing with it. Omnipotence, omnipresence, you see, and omniscience, or omniscience. You see, the grandest expression is the omnipresence. And we can see this threefold state of divinity if we understand the knowledge of sacred geometry as it relates to creation into the self. And that has to do with the triune. We see wisdom, will, and love budding in everything in creation, because the seed that has been planted in everything in creation is destined to bring forth an expression of beauty of that self-same creator that universally expressed us as his love, basically. So if we manifest other than that, we have to blame ourselves for not tapping into the self, for not coming out of the matrix. A lot of people don't know matrix mean womb. So in other words, when we say come out of the matrix, if matrix mean womb, in other words, we have to be reborn. The resurrection has to become a fact. We have to demonstrate the ninth degree when it comes to Islamism by the number 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And 9 represents re-entry. What is the purpose of re-entry, so to speak, if we don't want to be here? So if you came here, it ain't by chance. If you in this Moorish American government, it ain't by chance. You have re-entered for the purpose of finishing the work that you started in your last cycle. And that's an honor. Because there are some of us in a state of ignorance. When we leave the plane of things made manifest, we'll cease to exist. And this is because there's a void above the neck. So if you go beyond the plane of things made manifest, you know, when you deal with it from that special aspect, and you recognize that there has been a void of leadership. Even the seat of the East was vacant at one time. But we found out that true East is within. So that seat is no longer vacant. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the true Sultan. You know, as we say, using the ancient language of Kemet, you know, or Nesut. He is the one that is on the manifest in this new era and time now, that is governing his people again from the plane of soul. So we are his representatives. We are his representatives, family. And who better can you see that is on the manifest in this new era and time representing the prophet? We didn't come representing the prophet trying to take you back to church. We didn't come trying to take you to the mosque. We didn't come trying to take you to a temple. We came to teach our people to build a temple of perfected man. See, that's the difference between us and all of those who came before us. We understand that self-determination is the order of the day. If we don't have that special thought in us, again, we can't accomplish nothing. We can't accomplish nothing, family. What's the purpose of going up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah and then decide to fall back into a state of slavery? To become subject to somebody that can't think higher than a well, let's just say, you know, to allow ourselves to be ruled by those who don't know themselves. We'll say that right there, for a lack of better words. You see? So we really want to use the hammer of repetition in relation to dealing with the measure that we bringing on the manifest tonight. You know, we didn't come to play, and we didn't come to half step. We want to make sure that our family get everything that it is that we are saying. So that's why we're taking our time, because time never was with this special demonstration. And we have to always remember, family, we can place within the possession of one a mine of diamonds, keys to a mine of diamonds. But if one doesn't know it, they'll seal that demonstration up, you know, and basically abandon it. So that's why we say it's not in the possession of these lessons, but the use of them, you know, and where in which one would basically come into a grand drawing of being able to utilize them. So we possess the wisdom of the ancient ones. We possess a grand knowledge of our ancestors, a knowledge that takes us beyond the plane of fleshly things. We know that masterminds are able to trace themselves back, and thus they know. And so once you have a knowledge and you know, then it's your duty and your responsibility to apply what you know to the best of your ability, to make it applicable, to change your condition, to make it applicable, to uplift fallen humanity, uplift your people who may find themselves in a state of need. This is our duty and obligation as a people, Moorish kin. If not, then everything that our holy prophet, demonstrated, will be for naught if we don't take it and apply it. You see? So we want to give honors to everybody that is conscious in this era and time. We want to give honors to everybody that's out here feeding their people, feeding the homeless. When I say that, I'm talking about dealing with this truth. It don't always have to do with something physically. Give them some soul food. When I say soul food, we ain't talking about soul food, that had to do with pig and chitlins. That type of stuff. We talking about from the standpoint food for the soul. Feed those who are hungry. Quench the thirst of those who thirst after the truth. That's the greatest thing that we can give our people. If we don't give them nothing else, give them the truth. You see, because everything that we put out there will determine, the outcome of our people as a whole. You don't know who that God man is that you may be raising up. Remember, that station of the ancient ones is always on the manifest. Our DNA, is connected to the gods, to the Neteru. You see, it's always going to be one or some that rise up or rise to the occasion, so to speak. Those who are sin to break the chains of slavery, the chains of ignorance, the chains of darkness. It's always going to be something. We know this right here to be a fact. We can even say this scientifically proven. So if you want to talk about, even the concept of evolution, as we hear a lot of people talk about, well, what about the fact of the matter that it relates to out of every generation of our people, there are always those who have evolved to a greater degree of consciousness. That chosen few, the elite of the ranks of the righteous. One thing I always stress, though, even knowing that greatness rise from amidst our ranks all the time, I always said, when I came to a grand degree of consciousness, that, man, most of our people who say they believe in the God men who came to bring them a specific truth, a doctrine, most of them who claim they believe so much in these prophets, gurus, and masterminds, if they were on the manifest right now and they told you that they were themselves the same ones that many had been praising and worshiping and waiting to come and save them from their conditions, if they were on the manifest right now, some of those who claim to be staunch believers in the brother Yehoshua, staunch believers in Moses, Ibrahim, Muhammad, and so forth and so on. Some of the same people who claim to be fanatic about their belief in these people will be the same people that would turn coat and deny that these people are God sent if they were to manifest now. Everybody talking about they want to see the coming of Jesus. This is what they say in the church, right? We ain't saying this to mock our people. But if one were to come back, right, manifest, some of the same people will be trying to find fault in that particular leader or teacher. Rather than getting the teaching that one will bring, nah, you got to prove to me that you the Messiah. You got to prove to me that you a prophet. You got to prove to me that you the messenger, the one that was told to come. They will be looking for worldly proofs. This is what lets you know that the world is in a terrible condition. Even in the Grand Quran, it said, when that which is manifested and comes on to you that you should have recognized, you become ignorant in your insolence, so to speak, in rebellion. That's crazy. Or is that called insane? Man, boy, I tell you, Morris Ken, that's something else. So we have a duty and obligation to teach our people the truth. Again, it's time for us to write our own history. The pen is in our hand. We ain't got to wait on Rome to do it no more. We have that duty and obligation to our people. So it's up to us as to whether we live by means of a life of longevity or that we become erased from the planet of the earth. You see? And all of that has to do with how well we follow divine instructions. And when we say divine instruction, we ain't talking about just because I quoted it. Another brother, another sister quoted it. But because we know that this has been revealed as divine revelation from the great God himself. So all we should be willing to do is stand on it if we had any type of sense, right? So it's just an honor, family. We just were thanking and giving our family a divine drawing on the state of the nation as it relates to our condition. And what it's going to take for us to come out of this condition. We have to focus on those things, that are most important. And the most important thing right now, as it relates to our people, family, is freedom. Freedom, family. Freedom is not a game. So when we think of the mystic lore, when we think of the mystic lore, and the resurrection of the dead and, the mystery of life beyond the circle of the sun, we should always think as it has to do with us being a people that have been called to do a great work, and that this work would not be done if we haven't properly been prepared. You see? So proper preparation always prevents poor performance. You see? And so we have to be properly prepared to perform correctly when it comes to executing our duty and being who we were born to be. So I just want to give honors to all of my Moorish kin who are within the sound of my voice. Honors to everybody that is here to do the work and uplift fallen humanity. All of our people, those whom we know and those whom we don't know, that are striving to teach our people to be themselves. We give honors to all of you and everything it is that you have to offer. Because if we, again, don't feed our people these divine truths, then who will? Again, we got a divine bloodline. So let us honor that. And let us be who it is that we were born to be and destined to be, and tap into your divinity. Tap into the source, the saving power, and bring forth your treasures to uplift your people and uplift fallen humanity. So that's my particular measure. And, That special demonstration allowed me to send that link out to the family right on time. And the whole while I was demonstrating, I would go back and forth and trying to do this, and now that's ridiculous that it took this long for that link to show up. This is terrible. I've been creating the digitized language for the body and everything, and it was working smooth. As soon as I get on the demonstration to go live, it gets sluggish. Even my phone went acting crazy, but praise be to Allah, they can't stop this truth. We the truth. So at this time, what we want to do, we want to open up the floor. Like I said, the link to the stream yard is there for our Moorish kin. If they're able to get in here, you will see things still moving kind of sluggish. But nevertheless, if you would like to come on just to support and give your measure, all is well, family. Praise be to Allah. Any and all are welcome. And I'm also going to drop this link too in the chat so that they can come in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to star 6 my phone and get the Moors, not star 6 my phone, but get the Moors to star 6 their phone so that our family can hear from them on the conference call. Islam Moors. And again, our subject title is The Mystic Law of Kemet, the mystery of life and death in the world beyond the circle of the sun. And we coming from the first ayat. Islam, star 6 your phone, Moors. Now, I know it ain't no Moors, that many Moors quiet. As cold as it is out that door, I know ain't nobody out the door right now. Islam. Go ahead, Brother Marvin Edwards, Bay.
Okay. Gratitude for National Sister Grand Chief. Oh, yeah, this is Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay out of the Texas Consulate. Rising, giving all praise to the great God of Allah. Giving highest honor to his prophet, our prophet Noble Ali, our high street Abdullah. Give high honor to our dear grand government, our Moorish American government. Give high honor to our ex-wife. Give high honor to all our officials. Give high honor to his class, our Moorish perspectives class. As well as I give honor to all those that aided in bringing forth our class tonight. I give honor to everything that's Moorish, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, our Holy Quran, our Book of Ali, our 101, 102, the exhuman of the nation. All that the Prophet brought there to free us as a people, as a nation, as a government. Give honor to the forerunner, Dr. Marcus Mosaic Al. As well, I give honor to the ancestors whose shoulders we stand upon. Oh man, this is a very powerful class. Dr. Shahid, a very powerful class. And I was just being elevated by everything that you were saying. The mystic lore. The mystery of Egypt. All of these things that our ancestors have brought forth. As you were exemplifying. As you were expressing. That our ancestors brought all of this so that we would be on time. We will be in time to do the things that are necessary to uplift fallen humanity. This is a great time that we live in. We, the people that were once tossed aside, stepped over, stepped on, and lo and behold, we are the same people that's going to save this world, because as we come into this knowledge, that the prophet brought us, it is uplifting us. And as we are uplifted, we begin to fall in line. We begin to take our stations. That's there, waiting for us, as the world is waiting for us. They don't know it, but the whole world is waiting for us because we are the only ones that can say, what is it called? When we are, when like the prophet was reincarnated. Now, when we are the only one that's going to reincarnate the truth, because they buried the truth, they hid the truth, they lied about the truth. But we are the one that's going to manifest that truth on this manifestation, because we are the spirit. Great God created us in His image and likeness. And so all of these teachings, all of these lessons that our ancestors left us was for that purpose. You know what I mean? You're talking about the cycles of 25,000 years, And so we are in that time. So when we come into the realization that we are in that time, that we are the ones that to fulfill the prophecies, oh man, it's just something like the prophet said. He brought us something that we could shout about. He brought us our vast estate. That is the knowledge of who we are, the knowledge of who made us, the knowledge of what we were sent here to do, just as your host was saying. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to let that carnal love, keep him from bringing that divine love. So this is what we're all about, returning the divine love to this earth. You know what I mean? It's here, but we are, we are the representatives. We are that deep vicegerent, you know what I mean, to show that Allah is alive. He's always been alive. They lied about it, you know what I mean, saying that he was dead and never was, because they couldn't see it. They didn't have the nature to see it. It's not in their nature, but it is in ours, you know what I mean. So we have to come back into this, and we're doing this every day. And when we stand up, you know what I mean, the resurrection is a fact. And so, God, man, I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to say gratitude for all that you do, for Allah, for the Prophet, for your Moorish American government, for us. We love you. Gratitude, Islam and peace.
Yes, sir. Gratitude and Islam and peace. We give honors to you as well, brother, for that grand drawing. It's just an honor to be here and be woke at this time. Islam. All right. Is there another more that would like to come forth? Islam, brother.
Islam. This is Brother Larry L., Oklahoma Territory of Moorish America. We want to rise first and give praise to the great God of the universe, Allah, Ha'anatah, Angel, Bamaduti, El, Hedges, Ray, I am to Ali, Noble Drew Ali, giving honor once again to our Moorish American theocratic government, and giving honor to that one and all citizens of Moorish America, giving honor to you, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedu Abeti, Elmo, Hedges, for this Moorish perspective. And, his Hayat, he learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land and the mysteries of the life and death and of the world beyond the circle of the sun. So when I think about in light of what you said in the nutshell, grand man, in light of the time, you spoke about that divine bloodline. I can't help but to think about the divine origin of the Asiatic nations, that our prophet gave us. And then when he told us what our ancient forefathers were back then, you are today without doubt a contradiction, and there is no one who is able to change the nature of man unless the power descend beyond the universal creator, Allah himself. And I couldn't help but to call remembrance to my aid about who made me, you, and all 60 million of us. Our divine origin when you were speaking. Thinking about our bloodline, which is divine, our DNA. Our divine DNA of Allah. Our divine nature of Allah. Coming back. And I think about, just the studies right here. The courses. Our 7 in-depth degrees. And then this senior course of study. Where you go in and learn about how to preserve the dead, so to say. When you're looking at this, I think about our ancestors. I think about what we got on the walls of tenants, so to say. When we go into this judgment hall where the soul is basically being weighed, or the heart, if you will, up against that truth, that melodic balance, at the end of the day. And then we see the embalmer, which is Anpu, if you will, and this is our divine discernment, when we think about the attributes and the DNA and the ancestors within ourselves, that's activated as we unfold in degrees of consciousness and seeds, and then that divine discretion, that's that Anpu within us, you know what I'm saying, that embalmer, you know, just allow us to preserve ourselves and come from that mummy state, you know, and resurrect, because this is what it's all about. It's the resurrection, because our prophet let us know the will of man makes possible the action of the Holy Breath, and when the will of man and will of Allah is one, the resurrection is a fact. So this is what we're here to do as angels, is to raise our will up with the deific will in order to activate the divine DNA. You know what I'm saying? In order to bring that part of our ancestors to life that reside within the self, you know, because we need our souls to get out of here, you know, so activate our ancestors, our bloodline, you know, our remembrance, grand man, you know, it's what allow us to use the divine discretion, you know, the wisdom speaking from on high, you know, the aspect of offset, and then, you know, just the higher self, the mother of virtues, the harmonies of life, the ma'atic balance that we are composed of, you know, just the divine nature, you know, just running it back, you know, because this is what masterminds do. We can trace ourselves back, so thus we know. You know what I'm saying? So what you brought today, grand man, was just the links that we need to realign ourselves with that ancestral memory, because the prophet said he wanted to get us back into the state of mind of our forefathers, you know, so it's just through the remembrance that we activate that, you know. So I think about this, and it just gave me a reminder of what's written on the walls of Kemet, the Medu Netter, you know, the pyramid text, coffin text, the Pert Imperu, you know, just all these things that our ancestors left, that our prophet brought back full circle from beyond the circle of the sun, you know, just to give back to us in order to bring us back to activate that and remind us of who made us. So gratitude for the class, angel, gratitude for letting me speak. It's Marvin.
And gratitude, Brother Larry L. We give honors to you for everything that you do and breathing that holy breath on our Moorish kin. Islam. Make it plain, Mo. Islamism. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forward? Islam. You have the floor, my brother.
Islam, Dr. Larry Daniel, South Carolina Consulate. First, I rise and give praise and glory to Allah, most merciful. And I give high honor to his holy and divine prophet, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the last prophet in these days of time. And I give honor to Act 1 of our divine constitution. And I honor to God, man, great class as always. This is Brad Sheep. And I honor all my brothers and sisters online. Peace and love. Peace and love. Well, you know, brother, I was listening to what you were saying, that we preserve these, you know, these lessons, and, you know, make these lessons applicable to us, because we have to pass this knowledge on to our children. You know, because like before our prophet came, you know, you would say that there was no Moors. We heard about Moors. We read about it, but we didn't know we were those Moors. We didn't understand that we are the extension of our ancestors. It was like we were gay, you know. And in order for us to preserve these lessons, you know, and preserve our heritage and our culture and you know, that the Moors are here. You know, we have to pass it on to our children. You know, we have to teach, and that's why the prophet is. That's, you know, each one of us have a lesson. Like you said, you know, we conform to the level of our understanding. You know, and there's those out there, you know, that are hungry for this lesson, because they're suffering. You see, and they're suffering. We know why they're suffering, because someone else has taken over, you know, our position. They have taken us outside of law. You know, and just knowing that that, you know, we have to keep that torch lit. We have to carry this torch, you know, from generation to generation. And, you know, we spoke one time, and we understand that yeah, it may take another 50 years or less or longer, but the ball is rolling down here, and it's building up, and it's going to crush all opposition of the truth. You know, these are the prophets. And I'm looking forward to the prophecy being fulfilled, you know, because we are the return of the ancient one, you know, and we're carrying this message of the truth, you know, that we are an extension of that truth coming from our ancestors. So we have to honor our ancestors. We have to carry our heritage on without, you know, it's no end, you know, because
like we were sleeping, but now we have awakened. And this seems like the great awakening because people are waking up all over the world and understanding that something just not right, and that's because, our prophet is working. He said he was going to do it. So we don't have to be of an illusion because we understand exactly what's going on right now, and that's why our prophet comes to each one of us to give a more message. I might get a message that you didn't get this time, and you might get one that I didn't get last time, but that's what it's all about. Each one teach one. It's God is blessing. It's a blessing for Islam.
In Islam. And peace and blessings to you as well, grand man. Praise be to Allah for all that you do, all that you will do. Islam. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and exercise their fire?
Love divine.
All right, love divine. You're on time. That's what I'm talking about. Islam.
Yeah, 5 all the time divine for me. That's the number 156. Exhibit definition. I know we always write out of the Greek and I'm not Greek. You're the first. And as you say, people call outside, but, sometimes you always, the dead of the house, you always the dead of the house say, Sebyt are blazing. That to let us know within the Moorish house, we always have the fire blazing because, as you said, once we touch ourselves together, in this new era of time, we'll be blazing because we can't even melt the snow. And then one night, that said, we can go to the world beyond the moon, and then another night, I hear you say we can go to the world beyond the sun. As I say, when I did a movie, if they use the moon in the movie to do some killing, and I kind of have a little thing about the moon at the time, and then I see Uncle Michael change all, into some wolf. But I say, so much things to scare right in them time, but since I come home and get these divine lessons, and I open to these things, we are in Egypt, like, in the West here, what I've done to us. I will come to Mars about the self, and be the self, as I hear Yahweh say, take the Scimitar, and go into the workshop of the mind, that the family are out here with all these temples, after under the ancient forefathers' flag, because that is really the Scimitar. We're going into the workshop of the mind, where the 5-pointed open green star, as you said, stand up, upright, independent, and fearless. So with that, I said, walk one. The family here, there and everywhere, from the North Pole and to the South Pole, and to all the joining islands. Divine family, one love.
One love, my brother, one love indeed. Yes, sir. All is well. All right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and give their drawing? The floor is still open, Moors. Islam, grand man, what have you to say?
Islam, at the Earthmoon Day, Moorish Virgin Islands, first I rise and give praises to Allah, honest to Noble Drew Ali, honest to our Moorish American government, honest to our Moorish flag, our grand national seal and emblem, honest to Act 1, honest to everything Moorish, honest to all the Moors that spoke before me and all the Moors that will speak after me, honest to the National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedo Mentiamo Edjus for grand Moorish perspective of Moorish American government, Islam. Now, to add, to what the mighty Moors have already said, speaking on the bloodline, Yahushua's bloodline refers to or suggests a plan of action, especially in the context of nation building or nationhood, a lineal sequence of descendants of the historical Yahushua has persisted to the present time now, this new era of time now, through the physical embodiment and spiritual ancestral lineage of our ancient forefathers. But that's coming through Noble Drew Ali, the lore is simply, or in simple terms, means something that is learned, traditional knowledge or belief tribal lore, knowledge gained through study or experience. Story lore is defined as a body of traditions and knowledge on a subject or held by a particular group. In this case, our nation. Typically passed on from person to person by word of mouth. Lore tends to exist in cultures with long and complex histories, something that is extremely common. They would say in fantasy genres, but we know it's reality we're dealing with here. So it's just a matter of understanding that we were in the beginning, and now we are here. Not even in the beginning, but we are the fruit of Noble Drew Ali. The hard work of Swift Angel number 1 is being paid off with us coming forward and resurrecting ourselves from 3/5 to every other person to 5/5 within our nationality and our divine creed. Our nationality is Moorish American, and our creed is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Man in paradise, the crescent moon and star. Islam, gratitude.
In Islam and gratitude, Brother Eric Miller Bay, we give honors to you, brother, for all that you do. Islam, that's what I'm talking about. Praise be to the great God Allah. Islamism without the schism. Islamism, Aliism. Islam. All right. Okay. All right, Moors. Floor is still open. Anybody want to come forth and express their Moorish self? Islam, grand man.
Islam is Dr. Bachi Bay with the Iowa Territory. First, I'd like to rise to give all man a praise to Allah, us to the Prophet, on our democratic government, a world council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, my peace, citizens alike, on to all the Moors that spoke before me, all the ones that will speak after. And question on the floor, or the topic on the floor, he learned the secrets of the mystic lore of Egypt land, mysteries of the life and death, and the world beyond the circle of the sun. And when you're thinking about that, what learning, being in the Ish class, you learn that there's way more truth out there. There's way more truth out there than the finite mind can really comprehend, and that truth will take you further than any lie ever told, no matter how, even if they put all the lies in the end, it still could never take you as far as the truth. One link of truth will take you further, and you will start seeing that that these truths they don't conflict, but they get deeper, they get stronger, and they get the ability to see it becomes enhanced, and then everything stops being this mirage of I can't, till you start seeing the small links to everything else, and then it becomes this world of I can't. And it's just a grand measure, even being amongst, what I'm saying, ones that can they ain't afraid of putting the truth out there. And once you accept the truth in yourself, then you can accept the truth everywhere else. It doesn't seem so hard. It doesn't seem complicated. Everything goes from being complicated to a simplistic form. You know what I'm saying? And when, just like today I was going over some law, and I seen even in the laws that the European made, it still said that ones that are governed, statute, code, and ordinances don't apply to ones that are governed by God's law. And then when we think about divine constitution, that the divine is pertaining to the godlike.
because that's what divine means. And constitution is ultimately the law, the natural law of your character, of your being. And so when it goes beyond that, to see the support that from what the prophet had brought from our nationality into, the creation of the flag, the seal and the emblems, you see all this stuff that is a whirlwind that is knocking over these tombstones of what this world of make believe. You know what I'm saying? And it's erecting a structure, as the prophet said, an apparatus that is going to take you beyond the sun, moon, and the stars. And it's just wonderful looking back, sitting back and looking at it. And that's all I really had to say. Grand measure and peace and love for the grand demonstration and all you do.
In Islam, and gratitude, brother, for your aid and assistance and standing shoulder to shoulder and toe to toe with your Moorish kin, brother. We give honors to you for all that you do. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Yes, sir. It's gratitude to be on the manifest, with our Moorish kin. And, like we say, the best is yet to come. So there's a lot to be brought forth and a lot to manifest, and we have plenty of time allotted to us, the time that we have in this particular drawing to bring forth what it is that is necessary for our people to get the grand measure, so to speak. So, it's a grand drawing. All right, we got time for one or two more. Islam. Islam, Moorish kin. Okay, gratitude, Islam. We want to give honors to all of our family out there, that's here, and on the manifest viewing. Islam, somebody there? Islam, goddess and queen. Islam.
I'm Dr. Janet Wooten-Bay. Dr. Janet Wooten-Bay.
Gratitude.
That's Grand Secretary of North Carolina. First I rise and give the highest praise to our great God Allah. I give honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to this Moorish American government. I give honors to everyone. I give honors to our Grand National officials. I give honors to our divine ministers, angels, Maltese, citizens, everywhere. I give honors to all Moorish Americans. I give honors to this grand class. Dr. Shahi, I give honors to you. Concerning the question on the floor, that we are tapping into something that only can come from within. And we talked about that mystic Lord. And we have been called, we are the people that have been called to do a great work. And we are being properly prepared. And we have been properly prepared through wisdom, a gift that has been given and granted to us. And we give all the honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who mended all the broken wires, left us without excuse. And he placed us in a government where we don't have to try to figure it out ourselves. And we are being taught how to love. We are being taught the 5 principles. We are being taught through a zooming of a nation, the outlook of fire. And I say, let the peace be still and choose the higher self of thought, because we are God.
We are our ancient ancestors. And I thought, thinking about when you said, and our children are us. And I am so grateful to tap into this saving power, to tap into something that's always been searching for. And I think Allah met me at the right time. And as Dr. Gerald Muhammad would say, there's no strange things happening. And he would say the thing that brought us or drew us, is the thing that's going to carry us. And it wasn't nothing we did ourselves. It's that we took on this saving power. And when the student was ready, the teacher came. So we're going beyond what we can't see, because we know that only the pure heart can see this truth. So I just give honor for being here, being in the midst of this great wealth that Allah has given to us and granted to us through this precious gift of wisdom. Our thinking, reasoning, and our understanding, and making these things applicable, applicable. That I see the message that I bring. So, Islam, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
In Islam and gratitude for your measure. We couldn't have closed out with a grander blessing. Sister Wooten Bay, Janet Wooten Bay, we give honors to your sister. Praise be to Allah. Islam. Well, all right, Moors, we want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin, who came forth to support the Moorish American government. We want to give honors to our faithful family that's always showing up out there, in the platform, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you coming from, family. We acknowledge you, and a lot of big things coming on the manifest, and we invite our family to bring forth their talents. You know what I mean? Bring forth your talents to aid and assist your people, uplift your people, and guide your people. And we most definitely will sponsor you in doing that. So at this time, we just want to encourage our Moorish family to stay on a high vibration and continue to invite your people to the truth. And honors to all of those who are doing the good work. So that being said, at this time, we'll go to our officials. We'll start by calling forth our Assistant Grand National Secretary of the State of Moorish America, Sister Alset Amun El. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen? Islam, Goddess.
Gratitude, more.
Gratitude.
First, let me rise. Gratitude, praise the Lord. First, let me rise. I give all praises to Allah, and all honors to our Prophet Noble Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, all officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, as we should do a Messiah Mohidi Sheswell for opening our conference call on to law. Honors to our Goddess and Queen, our National Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Fanaki Minketeru for taking registration and reading our subject chapter of the week. Honors to my Moorish kin for bringing forth their grand measures to the platform this evening in building our nation. I was in and out more, so forgive me. But you said something that I paid attention to. And it was dealing with the fact that we have been given the mantle, should I say, the duty of uplifting our people, mindset, changing the way they think, putting them back within the mindset of a free mind, a free man, a free Moorish American national, and the Prophet has given us all the tools by which we could do this with. And sometimes, more, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Sometimes when I look at the mindset of our people and the depth to which that Willie Lynch what's the word I'm looking for? That Willie Lynch indoctrination has really set our people back because they think that training is something that is for them and helps them, and they don't realize that the indoctrination has put us behind 500 years. So their mindset seems like it can't be changed sometimes. But I know the Prophet said, as long as you keep that love out front and you keep this truth before them and you continue to give them that love and show them the truth of who they are, eventually their understanding will clear the path by which the truth could enter in. The Prophet tells us to go to any crevice, any open door. And so that's why he tells us to continue to drop the seeds of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice on us. Perseverance is key. As long as we continue to be, we're resilient people. So therefore, we know it's possible. We understand that all may not be saved, but we understand also that the Prophet said some of his best ones are still in the church, which means they're still out there. So we have to continue to keep that positive mindset, even in the face of adversity, because they don't understand and they don't know. And you said ignorance is a sin. They don't even realize what ignorance is, because they think the minute you call them ignorant, they think you're being insulted, because they don't understand what ignorance really means. And so you still have to be careful in the words that you use because of their lack of understanding in some areas. And then you have the educated fools that think they know so much because they've been fully trained by the European indoctrination with their degree of understanding and not having the full 360 circumference of the mindset of a free man. So, Moors, just keep up the good work and continue to do what you do, National Assistant Grand Sheik, putting the truth out there. And we definitely support you and continue to support our people. Because we're building a nation, and it's inevitable. It has to come to pass because it's part of prophecy. It's written in stone. Gratitude for calling me fortune. Much peace and love to all my Moorish kin. Islam is a Moor. Peace and love.
Peace and love and gratitude for that measure. Islamism. Yeah, we most definitely got a lot of, long patience for our people in love, and we definitely gonna stay on the manifest. I remember it was a time where we was on here on Facebook. We just put measures out here. We really, never really pay attention to the numbers of how many people get here, who on here. We just out here demonstrating. And so that's the main measure. We put the measure out there for ones to pick it up, and a lot of ones is picking it up. Like I'm saying, it's some that's faithful right here. Right here in this chat right here. They showing up, getting this truth every week. So we give honor to all of our Moorish kin and those who are looking from a distance, from afar, because they getting it too, indirectly. We also see ones taking up some of the information that we done put out there, and taking ones to task for the falsehoods that ones have been given to them as well. So they getting it. The main measure is that our people just have to be ready to succor those who are in need. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali say he came to redeem us from our sinful ways. And that's what we here to do. Teach our people, uplift fallen humanity, and be the love. Islamism. All right. Well, at this time, let us call forth then our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Mark Herube, Islam Grand Mufti.
Islam.
Islamism. How you be, Grand Man?
As Moorish as ever. And yourself?
Hey, man, I'm just as Moorish as well, man. All praise be to the great God Allah. Blessings manifesting. Islam.
Praise Allah for you in this grand class this evening, Muslim. Let us rise first and foremost and give all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, the most beneficent and the most wise. We also give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live, according to Act 6. We give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers and swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our holy Quran, our grand national seal and grand national emblem, our book of fire, the exhument of a nation. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheikh, for bringing forth this grand class this evening, Dr. Shadu Amenti and Medu Shepsuel. And we give honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us. To our Moorish kin that will speak after us, we give honors to you, angels. We continue to give honors where they're due and honoring all true and divine prophets. And yes, we give honors to our ancestors as they have come before us, leading the way. And we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. And praise Allah for that. And it's just been a grand class, and my Moorish kin definitely have been speaking wisely, bringing forth their gifts of the understanding on this perspective this evening. And when I think about, the senior course, and when I think about how one has to study, the stars and the moons and the different astrological bodies, it reminds me that, as below or as above, so below. What is in the heavens is here in us. And so it's very important that we do study the universe because it is exactly what we are made of. And, chapter 1 of our Quran tells us that, that the cherubim and seraphim, the rule the stations of the sun, and that the throne, or that the stars in which Allah has put out here is, these will be our protectors and our guide, and they shall lead to victory. So, that's a paraphrase, of course, from chapter 1, but it just brings forth a thought pattern that, as we was talking about in the last class, I think yesterday we was talking about time, and how time, is a rhythm, and it depends on, what rhythm you choose to lock into will bring forth the thought pattern or the vision or the momentum of the people. We know that they got us locked into a time pattern that deals with day to day or check to check, as most of us live by, that check to check mentality of lack, not the abundant thought pattern of, generational well-being and generational wealth. We was ones are talking about the bloodline and how, that is something that's passed on generation to generation. How these things, these blessings that come from within one is passed on. Not only the blessings, but those traumas is passed on through there. And so it's very important for us that we study the self and understanding that, we come from the dust of stars, that we were made of, as far as the physical self, of this matter that the whole universe is made of. Of course, we know man is not the body nor the soul, that he's the spirit, that dwells within. And so that spirit, of course, is a part of the universal creator, because that's where we come from. Allah took from his own self, his own thought, and planted us as a seed in the plane of soul. And there we grew apace. And so as we look at how things grow in this plane of soul and in the plane of things manifest, of course, it's important, as our ancestors have shown, that we track the movements of the heavens. And they also shown that not only do they track the movements of the heaven, but they mimic it on the buildings that they created on the earth. This is why, we could look at the monuments like the Great Pyramid and say, well, certain measurements, denote to the speed of light, certain alignments align with the stars in the heaven. And this is not by accident, it's purposely done. And we say, well, why? What's so important about that is the fact that these ones, our ancestors, ruled for dynasties, thousands and thousands of years. They didn't look to just ruling for the day or ruling for their lifetime. They ruled for generations and generations. And that thought pattern is what we want. We want to, have a thought pattern of knowing that our seeds and the seeds that we planted and the ones that come after them are going to still be here and still be able to have the benefit of what we have, of the work that we put in. And so that takes a sight or a vision that's far past one's own little, rotations around the sun. And even in the aspect of understanding that we're rotating in the universe, it's so important to recognize that, we're not in the same part of the universe that we was in yesterday or 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. And you say, well, what does that mean? Just as you got dry land and you got water, if you move about the earth, you're not always going to be on dry land. You may be in water. And so the material essence changes, and you got to adjust for that. You might need some scuba gear. You might need a boat, when you hit the water. And so as we move through space, there's going to be a time when the vibration is different, when the different, what they say, radiation or gamma waves or whatever kind of waves is there, they may change. And then we have to be prepared for that time period, because it will put us in a different situation. Maybe better, could be worse. But this is the new era of time now, of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius, where things are moving so fast and the information is coming so freely, that we have to prepare ourselves for that. And we have to prepare the generations beyond us to take advantage of this new era of time. So they're not caught stuck behind the 8 ball, as they say, or stuck behind the cue ball, and being strategically lined up to go in the hole, to be put in some hole. We just definitely have to take the lesson, as we grow and as we get this knowledge, as one graduates out of the senior course, as one graduates out of the schools of thoughts, because we know there's many schools of thoughts. We know that people call the great God by many names, and they call him by the portion in which they see him. But there's only one great God. It doesn't make a difference how many names you call him. You're still talking about the one God, the author and creator of the heavens and the earth and everything else. So once we come out of that school of thought, of understanding that we are divine beings, then we got to move into the mastery of it. We got to move into the actual work and then mastery of what we've learned. And that comes in, once again, in the application of studying the stars, studying the self, studying how these things work as you apply them. You know, it's one thing to know, like a few days ago, that we just passed the solstice, and knowing that, okay, well, this is the time when the daylight is the shortest on a certain part of the earth, because on the other hemisphere is the opposite. You know, but when we see these and we can track these things and say, okay, what's the purpose of that? Well, in the agricultural sense, we know that, you know, after this day comes shorter nights, and we'll be back to a time period where spring will come in, and then things will be growth will come once again, and then we say, okay, this is the cycle of life, you know, of the spring of growth and rebirth, and then you go into the summer, a time of the most light and the time to really get the work done, and then you go into what they call autumn or the fall, where we harvest in that work, and then you go into the winter, where, you know, that work, what you have done, is supposed to carry you on through the hardest times. The vibrational frequency, up, down, and up again. And I think this is what I'm saying, is that the study is necessary for us, not to get caught up, as we know, in the zoological forms of, you know, the beast, and saying, well, this is a ram or this is a fish sign. These are just symbols. But what does it represent? What does the cardinal essence of that represent? What does the mutable essence of this sign represent? What does the fixed sign of this essence represent? And how do we use that to, once again, bring forth what we need? You know, we talk about sex being a sacred energy exchange. We also know that if you want warriors, you know, you look at the time when the warriors is born, and you adjust that time accordingly to when you want to bring forth them seeds. We understand the whole birth cycle, so we shouldn't just be bringing in anything. You know, we know these things through the study of the stars. We know these things, so we can bring forth the scholars, we can bring forth the warriors, we can bring forth the entertainers, if that's what we want. You know, those Leos, those ones that like to be out front and entertain ones. Or we can bring forth those Aries, those ones who's intelligent and want to and start things off. Or we can bring forth, if we need the spiritual mediums, we can bring forth those Scorpios and Pisces, those ones, the water bearers who have a deep connection to this ethereal realm. And to me, that's what's the importance of understanding that and going through the senior course, so that we as a nation of people move forward with the knowledge of how to bring forth what we need to make our life better, to make our existence better, to be able to rule generations and generations and generations, and have things handed down and not be like the Europeans, in the sense of, you know, they rules last like 300 to 500 years, and then it's, you know, somebody else comes in. You know, they don't really get to last very long, because they basing their rule off a cardinal thought pattern of survival of the fittest. And that's a competition thought pattern. That's a thought pattern that creates wars. But when we come with the thought pattern that, you know, we now understand how to plan according to the stars and moons, that we can now create abundance, where we don't have to worry about the cardinal or the last aspects of the 12 crown jewels, food, color, and shelter, and we can move towards, okay, we got that set. Now we as a people can move to attaining the highest that's within us. You know, that gift which Allah has brought to us. So it's just been a grand class. I just want to add that to the perspective this evening. Like I said, it's just been a wonderful class, wonderful topic, and great drawing. National Sister Grand Sheik. So gratitude for the class, and gratitude to you, Morse America, and sympathizers and supporters, for being here with us and giving us your time, your attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, brother. We give honor to you for all that you do and all that you have done and all that you will continue to do, grand man. Praise be to Allah for that grand drawing, and it made me think as you were speaking what a prophet said, when the European go back to Europe, mountains of gold will be revealed. In other words, we got to banish that European or that Eurocentric thought pattern, and replace it, with that Moorish thought pattern. And once you banish that thought pattern and send it back to Europe, so to speak, then ones have to fall up under the jurisdiction of the higher self of thinking, so to speak. So it's the mindset that most definitely has to be removed from our people. And yes, one has to be conscious of them cycles, man. Because them cycles do represent resurrection. They represent death and they represent signs of rebirth after the death, which is the resurrection. So we give honors to you, grand man, and honors to the tribe as well. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. Powerful measure, Mo. All right. Well, let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Hatshepsut Rakat Ma'at and Hu Tutankhamun Bey. Islam. You there, goddess and queen?
Close as I thought. Gratitude.
Islam, gratitude. That's that love thought the prophet brought. Islamism.
Praise Allah. Islam. Praise Allah. Islam was dead. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving special honor to all those online. Also to Act One and to you, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, for opening our meeting according to law, and our National Grand Secretary of Indiana, Dr. Saya Nati Muhetaru L, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. This has been a grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Much honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedowa Menti Amohetchepsuel, for bringing forth this magnanimous class. Our subject matter being the mystic war, the mysteries of life and death, the world beyond the circle of the sun. And as I was, and much honor to all of my Moorish kin that brought forth their special measure. When I was looking at the keys that had been held back and coming up, in a state of unconsciousness as a little child, and going through the European schools and what have you, our people were spoken of in such a negative light. You came up with the thought that the only thing you had to contribute was, your history started at the time of slavery and things of that nature. And when you go through generations of that thought pattern, that your people have no value, no worth, you looked at as property, scorned by the rest of the nations of the earth, that tends to bring forth a state of self-hatred. And what stood out to me, and this special class was dealing with the master word of learn. We ourselves can't afford the thought pattern that you have everything, you don't need to know anything else. That leads to a state of self-destruction, because we realize that we have been indoctrinated as a people, and open the doors for hatred of self and each other, things of that nature. So when it comes down to, giving honor to my prophet, Noble Ali, for having brought these truths to me, the master word of learning, until I have actually reached the state of fruition, then I recognize the fact that I still have much to learn. And the prophet let us know that there is still much wisdom to be learned amongst our people. But if I deal with vanity, ego, think that, my condition can't be better, or think that I can't, I've already been through European schools, there's nothing else for me to learn, things of that nature, then I'm putting limitations on myself. I'm not even bringing into the picture the fact that I'm a spirited upon the great God Allah. So the same attributes that my Creator has,
these are the attributes that I have. And I haven't really touched the surface when it comes down to delving down deep and being able to find out about what it was that my ancestors, my forefathers and foremothers brought to me and also to my people. So when we get out of the state of having our ears closed to the truth and start to allow that soul to search even to the ends of the earth for the truth, because that question is always there. Being a child of the Creator, we've got to be willing and open to seek the truth about ourselves, to recognize that we are holy and divine people. Recognizing the fact that hatred, jealousy, competition is not of a benefit. And when we start to open our mindset to the truth, to see how beautifully and wonderfully we were made, recognizing that our condition can be better, that it's not about the self itself. It's about how I can be of assistance to my brother or sister. You spoke about homelessness in reference to being able to feed the soul, being able to give these truths to our people. Before I can give any kind of truth to my people, I first have to make these lessons applicable to myself. I've got to be able to find myself in these holy and divine records, to recognize the fact that I've got to let go of these things that keep me bound down to the manifest level, to keep me looking at my brothers and sisters cockeyed. You don't know what you're talking about, because, when we are able to see each other or see the gods within each other, this is what our ancestors brought to us. These truths have been handed down. We've got to be open enough to be able to receive, to be able to be still enough to hear that still small voice within ourselves. We've all experienced our higher self speaking to us, but we may not be attuned to that's what's happening to us. Like if I go down a dark alley and I get that voice saying, don't do that. Why don't you take another course? Go the path that's in the light. And if you get knocked upside the head enough times, then you're going to learn today. So we see the value in ourselves. Coming from a source of divinity, we see the value in our people. We see the divine mission at hand to be able to aid the assist our prophet in the uplifting of fallen humanity. So we recognize the fact that the rest of the nations of the earth recognize their special nationalities. They give honor to their culture. They don't mind demonstrating as their guards, as far as what their forefathers fought for. So why not us? We can no longer afford to be ashamed of who we are. And when we recognize our glorious and grand history, that everything comes out of Egypt or Kemet, then this is truly a demonstration to behold and recognize that we have just reached the tip of the iceberg when we recognize the God powers that we have within ourselves to be able to heal, to be able to unfold, to transmute at will, to deal with intuition and telepathy. All of these God powers are possible, as the prophets have told us, but we have got to clean out negative and dirty thought patterns. We've got to purify that thought and be able to demonstrate love divine no matter what. Then you are able to access your true nature, which is dealing with that God state within yourself. So, family, this has just been a grand measure. Much honor to you, Dr. Shaheed, for all of the blessings that you brought forth, because every degree brings a higher level of understanding and wisdom and unfoldment. So, we're here to aid and assist our prophet in the uplifting of fallen humanity, to sustain ourselves as a people, because we can no longer afford to be a beggar nation, because when that rug is snatched, then where are you? So we learn how to be self-sufficient, dealing with being independent and sovereign and fearless. So gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Our chairman is not available this evening. Gratitude, God, man, for this grand lesson. Peace and love.
In Islam, and gratitude for the grand lesson and the blessing brought forth by yourself as well, Grand National Secretary of State. We give honors to you and the tribe of endurance. Enduring just as well as that pole star, that we see in this reflection that I got up here sharing, on the screen, and we always like to bring our family back to this. Now, most people may not see a whole lot of significance in these things, but what they don't know is that, this is actually a divine, a celestial silhouette, so to speak, of our flag, in the heavens, been there since the beginning. But yet and still, we can see the science of as it is above, so it is below. And we can see the scimitar of consciousness and justice rotating, and we can see also how this actually has to do with what we call a macrocosmic and microcosmic orbit, of that justice, when we are able to be still and let the peace be still, so to speak. So this is what we call application. This is that cherubim and seraphim degree in the thought pattern, being fixed in that love, as you were speaking of, Grand Secretary of the State. And also where one is actually elevated, as we talked about earlier, and our brother Mufti mentioned it. When one become the spirit of the mighty Allah, that's what we talk about. You don't get no stronger than that. We can't get strength from weak sources. And so we just say gratitude, Islamism, we love you, and our praise be to Allah. So at this time, what we gonna do, we gonna call forth our National Grand Sheikh, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael, Islam. You there, National Grand Sheikh? We know these little apparatuses don't be working, so give the Sheikh a moment.
As far as Dr. Shahid, I don't see him on the board. He was there.
Okay, Islamism, praise be to Allah. Well, we give honors to our National Grand Sheikh and honors to all it is that he do. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby warn, subhanAllah, I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors all true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where our prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Islam. Chapter 25. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yea, the children of one father provided for by his care, in the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy people, thy brothers, pardon self, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Go in peace, Muslims. We love you. Islam, Ali-ism without the schism. Islam, we love you, Mo. Peace and love, Mo. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Goodbye.
All right now, family. You know, we give honors to all of our family out there in the media for showing up. You know, always family showing support. Brother Jeff Billingsley, we've been seeing you, brother. You've been on a lot of our broadcasts. I see you've been on a lot of them today too. PNF Publication, want to give honors to you. Brother Atham 79, you know, Derek Witherspoon, Noble Bryan, Charles Warrior, Lisa Cole Moria Bale. You know, all of you family, we give honors to you showing up. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe, you know, to our particular drawing. We're going to keep these lessons coming from on high and giving our people the truth, you know, because that's all we know how to do. And we just say peace and love. Also to our family, DC, we give honors to you as well, family. This demonstration running a little sluggish over here, but we're going to get this truth out here, and we're going to see if we can get it moving a little faster too. So peace and love, family. Y'all be safe, and make sure y'all stay out the way of this cold weather. It's 29 degrees down here. It's cold. It's cold. Gratitude.